Okay. Hi, it is I, Sarah, and I'm going to teach everyone how to tie a Celtic knot. And so, first off, just kind of a brief, very brief history of the importance of the Celtic knot, or the Celtic symbol. And so, Ireland holds a deep religious history, and its recognizable knots share this. While the knots all carry their own meanings, they all share the basis that their overlapping lines are meant to represent the Christian cross. So basically, what I mean by that is, you see right here where they overlap each other. It's literally just meant to be the cross. And a bit more on like these symbols that I picked. Obviously, we have the Celtic cross, which is probably, the most recognizable thing you could. They're everywhere, and like gravestones. Just yeah. And then this is Saint Bridget's cross. It's also sometimes called Braede's cross, and she was one of the many saints of Ireland. Obviously, they have St. Patrick's the most famous one, but Bridget doesn't get enough credit. And basically, what this symbol is supposed to mean is it's a woven pretty much with hay or stuff like that, and it's supposed to protect from evil and stuff like that. So it's another, representation of the cross, obviously, as it has cross in its name. And again, with the whole the like symbolism behind it, the basis is the cross, but then there's a deeper meaning, and it's supposed to protect from harm and all of that stuff. And then this is what you call the triquetra, which anyone that was alive in the 90s and watched Charmed probably has a general understanding of what this means. And you have these 3 loops here that represent the Trinity, so like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, that kind of stuff. All comes back to Christianity. And a lot of the times these symbols kind of end up in like jewelry. A lot of jewelry like this comes out of Ireland, and there's a lot of traditions behind them. So this is just a simple an eternity knot necklace. And then this right here, we have the Celtic knots on the side, but then we have the claddagh, which is an important symbol. And as I said up here, there's typically a tradition that mothers gift their daughters rings like this. And what this represents, you see it a lot, again, back to the whole 90s television thing. If you've ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, then you probably have an idea of what it means. But you have the hands, which represent friendship, and then the heart in the middle, which is obviously love, and then the crown up here represents loyalty. So love, loyalty, and friendship. And you see them as wedding rings sometimes. That's also a popular thing, and you see them a lot with the Celtic knot like incorporated into it somehow. It's just a very like important symbol. So now I'm going to try as hard as I can to teach you how to tie the Celtic knot, or at least one of them. Not all of them. So the one that I picked is called the Celtic heart knot, and like all the Celtic knots, it has its basis in the representation of the cross, but it's a heart, so obviously it's gonna represent love in there too. And then what you need is string. That's really it. I have this optional stuff, which is jump rings. So these are the jump rings, these are the clamps, and these go on like the end of the strings, and then these clasps right here, and then just some pliers. But that's only if you want to make it into like a bracelet like I did. And then step 1, you're going to want to cut off a pretty considerable length of string, just because you want to make sure that you have enough so that you see what you're doing. I mean, if you do it enough times, I'm sure you can get away with a smaller piece of string, but it's nice to be able to see what's going on with all of the like interconnecting loops and things like that. And then the next thing you're gonna do is just fold the string over itself and have a loop. Everything starts with the loop. The loop is important. And then you're gonna take sort of the right end of the string, when you're looking at the picture anyway, and you're gonna bring it over and then loop it under and then bring it back on top so that it's overlapping like the topmost part of the loop. And then next we're gonna make a loop out of it. Make sure that you're not going under the top, because that's important to not have that under it. It's just how the knot works. And then it comes and it goes under the left part of the string that we haven't really touched, and then comes out over onto the bottommost part. And then you're going to take it and you're going to loop it around the bottom, and then come up over, and then go under, and then feed it back up. And that's pretty much the entire knot. The tricky part is doing this. It takes a little finessing, so you're just going to begin adjusting the tension on all of the strands of the string until it gets to the point where it's tight and taut and a knot, pretty much. And I have a picture here of it looser, where I started to tighten it, but I hadn't gotten all the way just yet, just so that you could see what's kind of going on. And the way that I did it is that I started, and it's basically like I would start at one end and then tighten it until I got to the other end of the string, if that makes any sense. And then if you're gonna wanna, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I was just worried about it coming loose, so I tied just 2 simple knots onto the ends, on either end of the knot of our little heart that we've made, just so that it wouldn't come undone, because I spent a lot of time making this knot, and if it came undone, then I would probably cry. And then if you want to make it a bracelet like I did, then you're gonna take your clamps, and it's really simple. It's not hard, I promise. The clamps are made. They have these like little wings on them, and then they have a hole at the end. And you put the string or whatever you're using into the clamp, and then you take your pliers and you put the wings over each other, and it closes it around the strings so it can't come undone. I mean, it'd probably come undone if you pulled on it, so don't do that, but if you don't pull on it like a toddler, then you'll be fine. And next is just attaching the jump rings and the clasp. And it's jump rings are simple, like, don't worry about it. Like, I know I was like, don't distort the metal, but it's literally impossible to not know how to use a jump ring. So you hold it in your in your hands with pliers, and then you just kind of push in opposite directions, and it opens up, and then you slide it into that hole that is on the clamp that's around the end of the string, and then you push it back together again. And then the same thing with the clasp. Like, there's a little loop on most clasps. I've made a lot of jewelry, and they're typically all the same. So on most clasps, you have a little jump ring at the end, and you're going to do the same thing pretty much, where you just push in opposite directions and then loop it into the hole and then push it back and close it. Make sure there's not like a large enough gap for anything to come loose. And that's it. It's done. You did it. I'm so proud of you. I don't know if you can hear me clapping. Here, I'll get closer to the mic. I used mine as a bracelet. I made another one, and I'm going to use it as like a bookmark or something. And you can use it however you want. It's a lot smaller than you think it's going to be. Like, I have pretty small hands, and it fits, like, it's just a little dot in the palm of my hand, pretty much. And if you want it to be bigger, then I would say just use a larger gauge of string. Is that what you would say? Just use larger string. Like, how large the knot is gonna be is based on how large your string is. So I used a fairly thin string, so I came out with a fairly thin knot, if that makes any sense. But that's what it looks like. Here are just some like close-ups of it, and just so you can kind of see what's going on with the, like, how it loops into each other when it's tight and stuff. And I'd say that's it. So hopefully you found this informational, and my voice is not coming off as sarcastic as it sounds in my head. And maybe you can tie a Celtic heart knot now. If so, that's great. And I'm so proud of you. So happy for you. Go make some. Go give them to your friends. They'd make great friendship bracelets. I've spent enough time around children to know that they would go crazy for them. And I hope you have a nice, safe, healthy day. Bye-bye.